Season 15, Episode 1. So we arrived and the weather is so good. I hope it stays like this the whole month. Answer the phone. Hey Mikey, it's Lyndon. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm living the dream at the minute, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Life's really good, but I'm ready for another adventure. How are you fixed for work these days? Are you still editing?
Yeah, I've got a job at the minute, full-time hours. It's just delivering pianos, but yeah, I'm always up for if you've got some work for me.
I mean, it's been a while. I'm just wondering if you can remember how to work the computer.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I could always just do the same as last time, look at some YouTube tutorials and get a couple of library books. Yeah, no worries, it worked last time.
Alright, well, if you're up for it, I think we should do it. Let's hit Iceland. Hi everyone, can you believe that it's 10 years since I started making videos on my YouTube channel? I'd like to thank you all for following along and for all the comments you make in the comments section below each video. I love reading them. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button and more importantly the bell icon so you get instant notifications when I release a new video. More so, however, if you want to see priority viewing of my video episodes, podcasts and even special features, you can do so over on patreon.com/Lyndon Poskitt. You can check it out at the link in the top right corner. Thanks again and enjoy this video. Well, after some time away from adventure riding, I had the urge to get back out there, and it was Iceland that was in my sights. Iceland was destined to be different. Unbelievable scenery, home of some of the world's strongest men, and Formula Off-Road Extreme, an Icelandic motorsport event that I've watched on TV or YouTube over the years. I'll give you a couple of facts that you probably didn't know about Iceland. Geothermal water is used to heat about 90% of the Icelandic homes, meaning that they don't need water heaters and boilers like the majority of us are used to. Also, there isn't a single McDonald's restaurant in the country. One of the last countries in the world where humans settled. Iceland is an island literally on top of the world, and for the locals what seems normal appears exotic or eccentric to visitors. This is what's drawing me to explore the place, so let's get this show back on the trails. Of course I asked Basil if he was up to Iceland, but he explained that he's been enjoying his retirement over in the UK. I couldn't really push him, and he's done plenty of work in his time. That left me looking for another steed to carry me. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Norman the Norden.
Hey kid, don't never let them get inside your head.
Hey guys, here in the workshop today, just got back from Hellas Rally and I've got one day to prepare my Northern 901 before it leaves to go to Iceland. He's a 900cc parallel twin with an output of 105 horsepower, and although a little bit heavier than Basil's, he has an almost identical power to weight ratio. This is Husqvarna's answer to an adventure motorcycle, and if you have a quick Google search, you'll see that Cyril Dupre, multi-time Dakar Rally winner, took one of these on his Nordic adventure and left a stunning review. Well, you know me, before I set off on any adventure, there's always time to be spent on the bike. I've got quite a bit to do to the bike. I'm going to change the suspension, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, change the wheels, put some different discs on it, hopefully get another seat for it, a rally style seat, but I'm still waiting for that, handlebars, some other bits and pieces. Really just going to crack on with it, get it done. Need to put a luggage rack on so I can carry my luggage with me on my adventures, and a couple of other bits. So let's get on with the bike and I'll talk you through it as I do it. Here with both shock absorbers from my Northern 901, the one that's just come out, which is the stock Apex shock absorber, and the one that's going to go in, which is the Pro components, the Explore Pro. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the two shocks, why I'm making the change, hopefully help you understand if you need to make that change or not, because it's not essential. So the shock that comes with the bike is very, very good for its purpose. So majority of people that buy the Northern 901 will probably use it 80% of the time on the road, commuting, where you want a really soft, nice plush suspension for comfort, and also they'll use it on gravel roads, stuff like that. It's more than capable of doing that, and I've used the Northern now for, well, since last year. With the standard shock absorber. I've not upgraded, I've only used the standard shock absorber, I've not changed it internally or anything. I've pushed it to its limits, I've found its limits plenty of times, and it's now time to upgrade to this one. This one really comes into its own when you're really using the bike in extreme conditions, hard off-road conditions, where you really demand the maximum from your suspension. You want the best you can possibly get. So let's talk about the differences between the shocks so you can understand it a little bit better. First of all, just looking at it, you can see yourself the difference in quality, and as a result the difference in price. This one's built to a budget to come as a standard item on the bike. This one is for those that really need the best they can get, but obviously you've got to pay for that. That's why this one's considerably more money than this shock absorber. But what you get on this one is quite a lot more. Let's talk through it quickly. I mean, I just briefly mentioned materials. The standard, the level of friction inside this shock is much more reduced than the standard shock because of the materials and the components they use. They're really the top end. And the finish is generally just super nice. I mean, you've got this really nice CNC machined upper body on it, all these red anodized dials, and I'll talk through those. So both shocks have got preload adjustment. This one's got a handle here for the preload adjustment. This one's got a little 8mm where you can put a T-bar on it or something to adjust the preload. This one's got more adjustment than this one, but still both adjustable. When it comes to damping adjustability, let's first talk about the damping itself inside the shock. This one has got a standard setting. It's good for most situations. Like I said, people that use it mostly on the street, people that use it on gravel roads, things like that, like you've seen me use it in the launch material and everything, totally okay. But when you want to start pushing the limits of the bike, you will find the limit of the shock pretty quickly. You will find it bottoming when you're pushing hard and doing jumps, things like that. And that's where this one comes in. The damping control on this shock absorber is much more progressive. It's got much better damping control and much more bottoming resistance as well. So this is where it really comes into its own. And on this shock, you will see both shocks have got rebound damping on the bottom of the rebound adjustability for the damping on the bottom of the shock. But again, it's limited on this one, much more adjustability on this one. And this one, you'll see these two dials up here. You've got high speed and low speed compression damping, something that you don't get on the standard Apex shock. So on here, you've got high speed and low speed compression, pretty much like you do on a dirt bike. You've got rebound damping, and you've got a lot of adjustability. Each one has got a lot more clicks of adjustment than the standard shock, so you can really play around with it to give you the result that you want from your shock absorber. So I've been using this for long enough. It's time to get the pro components in the bike, and I can't wait to start pushing the bike and riding it more how I like to ride it, and getting the most from the suspension on the bike. Okay guys, we're now going to talk about the front forks. So in this hand here you can see this is the stock Apex fork that comes with the Northern 901. It's a 43mm fork, which means the stanchion here is 43mm diameter. Actually the upper portion of the fork is the same dimensions on this one, so they're a direct interchange. But the lower stanchion is 43mm. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. This one is the Explore Pro fork, which you can now get for the Northern 901, and this is what I'm going to fit. Now, similar to the shock absorber, you can see the finish and the materials used are really top notch on this one. This is really derived from a racing fork. It's very similar to the forks that we use in the factory rally bikes for rally racing, and that's where the design and the technology for this upgraded fork comes from. Now, just jumping back to the diameter a little bit there, this one's a 43mm diameter fork. Now, one advantage of a smaller diameter is that you can get the weight down of the unsprung mass. The bigger the diameter, the heavier the material, and it's difficult to get the weight down. So that's one advantage. One disadvantage of a smaller diameter is the fork itself has a little bit more flex. And this is nothing to do, well, it has less stiffness. This is nothing to do with the stiffness of the fork operation. This is the actual flex in the fork itself. Now, for most road-going vehicles will have a smaller diameter fork because they don't need a hefty, strong, big diameter tube. But when you get off-road and you start pushing the bike, heavy braking and rough terrain, you want to get as much feedback as possible through the fork, and that's why these have got a bigger diameter fork. Now, some of the follow what I've done with the rally bike, one of my personal rally bikes has got 52mm forks in, which are even bigger. But what they do on those, on the factory forks, they're not actually available to the public, but what they do with those is they make the lower tube, this part of the fork where my hand is, out of aluminum or aluminium, which keeps the unsprung mass down. So there's always pros and cons on every single type of suspension that you go for. Some are better suited to everyday road use, some are better suited for hardcore off-road use. So I'm just going to talk through the advantages of the Explore Pro fork over the Apex fork that was in the bike and came with the bike standard. Obviously there's a cost difference again, this one being significantly more than this fork. This one's, it's built to a budget and it's built to keep the retail price of the bike down, but it will suit 80% probably more of the people that buy the bike and for what they want to use it for. But for those that want more, those that want the best they can possibly get, there's always a chance to improve, and that's where the Explore Pro comes in. Now you can see from the materials, you can see the lower fitting on this one is like a forged fitting. The lower fitting on this one, the axle clamp, is a machined billet fitting. It's a really beautiful work of art on there. And also with the rest of the fork internally and everything, the materials, the fit and finishes, the tolerances and everything is just that bit better quality on this one, which reduces the friction inside the fork, which then in turn improves the operation and the feeling, which is more and more important when you start riding in really slippery and off-road conditions, technical conditions. So we've got better materials in this one. You can see that this one's got a separate seal carrier. That makes it a little bit easier to change the seals, and there's a reason for that, because this fork is a closed cartridge fork and this fork is an open cartridge fork. The difference in that is the oil volume, the oil inside this one is all in the same void, the same chamber, and in this one it's got two different chambers. Now, one advantage of that is that you can separate the lubrication chamber for the outer sleeve from the damping chamber. Not only does that help to keep it clean, it means that you can run the damping chamber with a little bit of pressure, which reduces cavitation of the oil and foaming of the oil, and that helps to keep the performance of the fork working well in extreme conditions, and that's what this fork's designed for. Now, lots of you will have heard about cone valve technology. This fork is a cone valve fork. It's what comes in the factory rally bikes, and it has a little cone inside it. And that is really, it's a different damping mechanism to what's conventional. So on a conventional fork, the oil is forced through orifices. It then bends small shims inside the shim stack, which at different rates, which allows oil to flow through depending on how hard you hit the terrain. This one's still got some of that, but it's also got a cone valve inside it. And what the cone valve does, it effectively bypasses the shims, and it's a different damping control mechanism. And it means that you can hit things harder and you don't risk bending those valves inside and get what you call hydraulicking, where if you hit something really hard and the valving can't move fast enough inside a performance fork, then you can actually damage the shims. And that's what this prevents doing. It's got like a bypass through a cone valve, which blows off when you need it. So the advantage of the cone valve in here is that you can run a much stiffer setting, but you still have the same comfort in the normal conditions. So when you're running really hard and you're hitting things hard, you're using that cone valve technology. But when you're actually on the street and things like just normal riding, you've just got a normal operating fork. So hopefully that explains a little bit about it. You've got much more infinite adjustment, even though we've got on this fork, we've got compression damping on the top of this one and rebound damping on the other fork. So you've got compression on one, rebound on the other. In these Pro component forks, you've got compression and rebound on each side, and it's quite a lot more adjustable. So you've got rebound damping on the bottom of the fork, which is in there, and then you've got compression damping on the top, and you get much more clicker adjustments than you do on the stock fork. Another advantage of these Explore Pro forks is in the top here, you can see this big red nut. You've got preload adjustment, and that's something that you don't get on the standard fork. So having talked through all of that, you can see clearly why this is the ultimate fork for anybody that wants to go out there and really, I say, abuse their bike and throw it through all kinds of conditions at speed, and want the best possible damping and control they can get. Then this is the fork for it. Something that I didn't mention on the shock, the forks and the shock both have more travel than the standard bike, so it is going to increase ground clearance on the bike, and it's also going to increase the seat height, so that's something that you must consider before going ahead and just getting this Pro component suspension, because it might be that you already struggle to reach the ground on the bike, and if you go and put this suspension in, it's only going to get worse. So lots of considerations to be made, as always, when upgrading suspension on your bike. But for me, I'm really happy to finally get hold of a set of this Explore Pro suspension, get it in the bike and start to ride it how I love to ride it. suspension upgraded, next it's time for some high-performance brakes from MotoMaster.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame.
As I worked on Norman, I could feel the excitement of a new adventure building up within me. This is going to be awesome. I've been working with Enduristan luggage systems for years now, and with great success. So it's time to fit Norman with his luggage system for the trip, and it's no surprises that I've chosen Enduristan once again.
So I pretty much decided to use the same luggage setup that I used on Races to Places, just because I know it so well. I could actually manage with some Enduristan Blizzard panniers, which are the small panniers that fit without the rack. But it would mean I would have to take a top bag and would probably struggle volume-wise. I'm only going for a month, but I still need quite a bit of stuff with me and spares and stuff. So I decided, you know what, I know how it works, I know how I packed my bags for Races to Places, I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to put these luggage racks on the bike, and I'm going to use the Monsoon Evo from Enduristan, the small one, which is also clippable on and off, removable easily, more easily than the Blizzards. So that's the choice I'm going to make. So I'm just going to fit the luggage racks for this trip, and the bike should nearly be ready to go. So we're using the Evos. Dead easy, you just pull this slider up, sit the bag over the rack, it just clips on. You just lift those two up, push it on, push it down, clips it into place like that, and lift the bag up, and then there's a little pull strap under the bottom. Slide that in. Same at this side, slide that in, and then you just attach the top strap somewhere to the luggage rack. And for my tank bag, I'm going to use this, the same tank bag that I used on Races to Places, which is a 4H from Enduristan. It's a soft tank bag, and I found it was just the perfect size to, not too big, didn't interfere with me riding. It was a perfect size to fit my cameras and stuff inside. So I'll try and do a similar thing, and it also just clips on and off dead easy, so just clip it there, and then at the back we've just got two, one at this side and then another clip at this side, and it's on, so it's really easy to put on and off. So if you want to take it in somewhere with you, with your valuables in, you can do. I'll just leave it there. And the good thing about it being soft is when you do stand up, you can just push against it. It doesn't interfere too much with you as a rider. It just wants moving forwards a little bit. Tightening up the straps at the front, but otherwise, good. Right, apart from packing my luggage, and maybe I'll have another small bag on the top here, I think the bike is good to go. I've put my double take mirrors on, so if I crash, I'm not going to break a mirror. And yeah, I think I've just about done everything. Before I go to Iceland, I'll put new tyres on. I'm going to run Michelin Anarchy Wilds for the whole trip in Iceland. And I've already shipped those to Rotterdam. Those will go on the bike before the bike goes on the ship. It's all a bit hectic because the bike has to leave tomorrow. Even though I'm not going to Iceland for another 3 weeks, we've got Erzberg first, and then the ABR festival in the UK, and then on to Iceland where I'll pick up the bike. Hopefully it arrives in time so I can get out and go ripping.
Next time on Races to Places, my exploration of Iceland gets underway.
The bike has arrived.